Hi, I'm Em, and this is Läser, which is Swedish for Em Reads. So I got a tripod for Christmas, which is awesome. I have it on my desk currently, so you can get this view of my British paperbacks. And I really like this angle. I might keep it. We'll see. Today I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up. The month isn't over yet, but I don't feel like I will have the time to finish another full book, so we're just gonna do this now. First thing that I finished in December was Läser by Läser, who is a Swedish young adult author. This is a contemporary novel, and we follow a group of friends who all come from the same very small town in Sweden, and they have all moved away because they are in their 20s, and then one of them dies, so they all go back there for his funeral, and it deals with the grief of losing someone that you love, and it also deals with being so far away from your close friends and dealing with life after high school graduation, and I really enjoyed it. This was my first full novel that I read by Läser, and I really enjoyed her writing style. It was very good. I feel like it spoke to me a lot because I'm in my early 20s as well. I think most of the characters here are 20 years old, and that's my age as well. In fact, the year that they were born is specified, and they were born the same year as me, so I felt even more connected to them because of that. And yeah, the writing was good, and there were a lot of beautiful quotes in here, and the story was very slow paced, but I really enjoyed it. It was a really great read, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The second book that I finished in December is probably the best thing that I have read all year, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. So this book is about a wizard by the name of Simon Snow. He is, I think, 16, 17, 18? I don't remember. Anyway, he is a teenager who is in his last year at a magical boarding school. This story is very similar to the Harry Potter series, but it's also very much not the Harry Potter series, but it's that kind of vibe. And we follow him, and he's just starting his last year at school, and his roommate and mortal enemy has gone missing, and he can't stop thinking about it, basically. Simon has a lot of other problems as well. His girlfriend just broke up with him, he is very bad at magic, and he is in fact chosen to save the wizarding world from this big bad guy who is called the Insidious Humdrum. So this is basically his coming of age story, and it was just glorious. Everything with this was just so good. Now, going into this book, I was really scared because everyone has been giving it a lot of praise, and I was really scared that I was not gonna like it as much as everyone else does, but I did. I loved it. It was just so incredibly good. Emma Rowell is just one of the best authors I have ever read because her writing style is just so awesome is the only word I can find to describe it, basically, because in every single book she puts out, the writing is just phenomenal. Her characters are just amazingly done and fleshed out, and I cared about all of the 4 main characters, yes, even Agatha. A lot of people seem to have been having a hard time getting into it before Bast shows up, but I didn't have that problem at all. I think it flowed very well. It is kind of slow paced, I guess, but I really liked it. I really wanted to keep reading all the time when I was reading it, even though barely anything happened in the first part. I really enjoyed reading about that anyway. I was a bit skeptical about the magic system, but now I really like it. It's very interesting and it's very clever. And of course, the romance is to die for. It's just the best thing ever, basically. The only thing that I didn't like, because yes, there is one tiny little thing about this book that I did not enjoy, and that is that the big reveals were pretty obvious to the reader. I mean, they weren't obvious at all to the characters, so I understand that their reactions were a bit shocked, but to the readers, it had been obvious throughout the entire novel, so I was just sitting there like, yes, they finally figured it out! And that's not how it's supposed to go. So that was like my only bad thing. So I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. On like a rating point, I would give it 4.95 possibly, because that little thing was just 0.5%. So yeah, 5 stars. Best thing I've read all year. Everyone should read it. It's awesome. Then I picked up The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. In this story, we follow the main character Mike, who lives in this town that is somewhere in the United States, I don't remember where supernatural things come and attack the people, basically. It has happened many times in the past, so every time it happens, none of the people who live there are shocked or anything, and the people who take care of it are the indie kids at his high school, and there's usually some kind of chosen one amongst those indie kids who deal with it, and in this novel we follow Mike as he is trying to graduate high school. Basically, zombies with weird blue eyes have started attacking the school. So everyone has been talking about it because it's Patrick Ness, he is a very well-known author, but I got the impression that this was going to be about everyone else who just live around and don't save it, and I thought it was going to be like a parody of a The Chosen One story, but it wasn't. It was just a very different take on it, and I really enjoyed it. A lot of people seem to be disappointed with it because it was not what the premise said that it was, but I really liked the story that we got out of it. Because even though I went into it expecting a kind of fantasy slash humor story and instead got contemporary focused on romance and mental health, I really liked it. I do feel like it's wrong that they are advertising it as a fantasy book because it's not. It is a contemporary basically with some aspects of fantasy in it. Basically, if you like contemporary, I really suggest that you pick it up, and if you like fantasy but like contemporary as well, you can pick it up as well. I think you will enjoy it. Like I said, it deals with mental illness and it deals with it brilliantly. I have never read Patrick Ness before, so I thought he was just a fantasy writer, and I had no idea that he could write contemporary as well. So I really like it. It is a book that stuck out to me a lot because of how it dealt with mental illness. So I definitely recommend it if you like contemporary, that is. I would give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars if it weren't for the fact that I went in with different expectations from what I got. So I have to knock it down to a solid 4, but still, great book. I really enjoyed it. You just have to know what it is before you go into it, because otherwise you will get disappointed. The next thing that I read was 10,000 Skies Above You, which is the sequel to 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. And since this is a sequel, I can't tell you too much about the plot because then I will be spoiling you, but I can tell you that this series as a whole is about traveling between parallel universes. In the first book in the series, we follow the main character Marguerite, whose mom and dad has just invented a little necklace that makes it possible for you to jump between different dimensions, and this is the follow-up to the events that happened in the first book. When I read the first book, I was a bit disappointed. I really liked the plot, I really liked the world and the system with the parallel universe hopping and stuff, but I just really didn't like the drama and the love triangle, and the main character was a bit annoying. But a lot of people had been saying really great things about the sequel, so I was still excited because, like I said, I really like the world. It's been a while since I finished this novel, but I'm still not really sure what I think about it, because while I really like the world and the story arc overall, I just think that Marguerite is a very frustrating main character. I feel like Marguerite would probably be very good friends with America's Singer from this election. Some of the things that she did in this novel frustrated me a lot, but I am willing to look past that because I really liked the story and everything overall. And the ending was phenomenal. I did not see that coming, and I just want to have the last book now because I just want to know what happens. It was just very exciting. And also these covers, guys, they are so pretty fall, and just this specific one, it has the Golden Gate Bridge and Eiffel Tower, and I've been to both of these places and I just Anyway, I liked this book enough to give it 4 out of 5 stars. After I finished 10,000 Skies Above You, the holiday booktubeathon happened, and if you want to know more about my participating there, I will leave a link to my holiday booktubeathon wrap-up down below. But the first book that I completed there was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Briggs. In this book we follow our main character Jacob, who is 16 years old and he lives in America, and his granddad has always told him these weird stories about these people that he lived with when he was a child and was a refugee in the Second World War. And when his granddad dies, his death is very mysterious, and Jacob decides to find out about the things in his granddad's life and if those people that he talked about really were real. I feel like that is really all that you need to know because it is a very mysterious book, so you get to discover things just as Jacob does. I have heard so many great things about it. It is one of the big books on BookTube, and of course Ransom Briggs, we all know Ransom because he's married to Tahira Mafi, who wrote the Shatter Me trilogy. And they just are awesome. I follow both of them on Instagram and they're just the coolest people ever. However, this wasn't really my kind of book. Ransom's writing is really good and the story is really good, but I just don't feel like it's my kind of story. I was really creeped out at a lot of times, and the setting was just weird, and it just gave me bad feelings. However, I do want to know what happens in the rest of the series, and because I bought all of them as a box set, I am going to continue on with it. So it was very well written and very well done overall, but since I only liked it a bit, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I finished was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. So this is a big chunky book that I have been suffering with for 4 months. I read Throne of Glass earlier this year and I really liked it. It was one of the best books that I've read all the year as well. And then I picked up Crown of Midnight in early September, and it was just the slowest thing ever. However, I decided to finish this before the year was over, so I read it for the booktubeathon, and it was really slow, but in the end it was worth it because that ending! Since this is a sequel, I can't tell you too much about the plot, but in the first book we follow our main character Selena, who is in a competition to become the king's assassin, and the second book follows her in what happens to her after the competition, basically. And yeah, some things I really liked about it, but some things I didn't. I'm thinking of maybe doing a video review because I want to talk about stuff. But let me just say that my ship sailed and it was glorious. The thing is though that most of this book was just so slow and boring to read. So I feel like the first 80% of the book I give 3 stars, and the last 20% of the book gets 5 stars because it picked up very quickly at the end and got better. So my overall rating for this is 3.5 stars, and I really want to read Air of Fire. It's sitting there on my TBR shelf, but it's big and chunky, so I'm gonna save that for next year. The last thing that I finished in December, and probably my last read of the entire year, is The Amazing Book Is Not on Fire by Dan and Phil. So this is a book written by the YouTubers Dan Is Not on Fire and Amazing Phil, and they are 2 of my absolute favorites on YouTube. I love them so much, and their book is just basically them telling us their story about how they met and how they started YouTubing and just a bunch of other random stuff about them, basically. And I really liked it. It is a shame that it is so short, but it was a really great read, and I think it tells us their story pretty well, and it's just, I have so many feels because I love them so much. Just after I started reading this, they released the audiobook, so I decided to listen to it while I was reading. So the experience of reading this basically was me sitting there looking at the pages while Dan and Phil read the book to me, which was amazing. I would give the book itself 4 stars if you liked it, and Phil, that is. If you don't like it, I'm not sure you would enjoy the book. But anyway, I give this book 4 stars, but the audiobook was just so amazing, so I have to give the overall experience of the book and the audiobook together 4.5. So those were all of the books that I finished in December. I read a total of 7 things, which is crazy. I usually read like 4 or 5, so I am really proud of myself for reading so much this month. Also, I am currently reading The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan, and also Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is actually a reread because Winter just came out and I don't remember shit that happened in any of these books, basically, so I'm gonna reread all 3 of them, and that is going to be glorious. So yeah, these 2 are my current reads. But yeah, that was it for this video. I didn't script it this time either, but I think I did pretty well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you whenever I upload my next video. Bye!